When it comes to society, we need to get one thing clear. Society is a narcissistic construct. So, it's meant to benefit some at the expense of others. Society is not meant to benefit everyone that participates in it. And here's the thing, society is a dirty game. A lot of people are not given an option whether or not they want to participate. So, you're not given an option if you want to participate or not. You have to participate, or else you don't get any finances, you get any food, nor any water, nor any of that. And even if you would have your own water, your own food, and you wouldn't need society, the majority of the people are invested in society, so psychologically you would suffer loss. So society is a dirty game that tricks you, though to necessity it tricks you to participate in it. But society tells you that you can reap all the benefits of this thing called society if you just work hard enough and give people what they want. Especially last one, if you validate society, the promise is you will be safe and you'll be cheered, you'll be loved. And that's what every human being wants, to be loved, to be cheered, and to be praised. Even narcissists and reprobate people want to be loved, but their terms are that everything must be centered around them at everyone else's expense. That's the issue with the narcissist. But even they want love. But they don't want mutual love. They want all the love to come towards them on their terms and don't care about anyone else. That's a reprobate. But even a reprobate wants it. So all human beings have this craving to belong to a group and to be accepted and taken care of. Because we're vulnerable, fragile creatures. That's what we are as human beings. We're vulnerable, fragile creatures. Whether it's a little baby of just a few months old, or whether it's a bodybuilder in his 20s, or whether it's a veteran in his 40s, or just an old man who's 80 years old, or someone who's older than 100 years old, we're all vulnerable and fragile creatures. That's facts. And as vulnerable, fragile creatures, we crave each other's company to be taken care of. To be taken care of is something we all want. However, to be taken care of also implies that you need to take care of other people. And that's where the issue comes in with fallen mankind. Fallen mankind has a narcissistic tendency to crave care from others, but when it's their turn to care for those other people, when it's their turn to make sacrifices or to make investments, they tend to walk away. And that's the root of all the issues in the world. People want to benefit, but they don't want to be charged with obligations. So, that's why society is made up by the world, and in society, you're told that if you're exploited and harmed, it's your fault because you're not strong enough or you didn't pay attention. Anyway, the victim is always blamed. And at the same time, they show you those celebrities or those public figures who are overwhelmed with luxury, just to let you think that the promises of society are valid. So you need to understand the following. Society wants you controlled, not happy. Because when you're happy, when you're completely at ease, without any stress and without any cares, you'll be able to see things more clearly. And the moment you see things clearly, you're going to call people out on stuff. And once you call people out on stuff, a lot of folks are going to become uncomfortable. And once they're uncomfortable, they will escalate on you. So to prevent mass escalations in the public, you're not allowed to question society ever. You're not. You're allowed to have criticism only on the subjects that you're allowed to criticize. That's why even on the internet, even on YouTube, when you criticize certain people or certain policies, you get shadow banned or your account is terminated or they censor you. Society wants you controlled, not happy. The moment you're happy, you'll be able to process things much better. Society wants you anxious because once you're anxious, you are stuck in the patterns they lay down for you. Society wants you stuck in a pattern because when you're stuck in a pattern, they can easily reach you and they can easily push you to do what they want. And because you are stuck in a pattern, you're also vulnerable to their violence. So if they want to shut you down, sabotage you, or even kill you, they could easily do it. Society wants you controlled, not happy. But those celebrities want you to think that society wants you happy. But the reality is that it doesn't. And here's the thing, anytime society is neglectful, anytime society or the collective is out of line and you come out on it, people would ask you, who do you think you are? Or who are you? Or they would say the world owes you nothing. Or they would gaslight you by highlighting some of your own errors just to make you shut up. That's the thing with society. It's a narcissistic construct designed to benefit some at the expense of others. If there are no others to exploit, then the people to whom society is assigned to benefit cannot benefit. The benefits of society can only come at the expense of someone else. There's no such thing as a fair game in society. Society is not fair, society is not just. The group wants to benefit at the expense of the victims. That's how society works. There needs to be victims that they can look down upon so that they can feel good about themselves. There needs to be victims that they can violate so that all can discharge their pollution. If there are no victims, then there's no one they can get narcissistic supply from. And when there are no victims, that means they can't discharge their tensions. And once they can't discharge their tensions, those tensions are going to grow, and eventually you'll have bloodshed all over the place because people can't get along. Fallen mankind is self-destructive. Fallen mankind is suicidal on a collective scale. So in order to divert this self-destruction, they need victims to victimize. That's what society is designed to do. Society is not designed for you. Society is designed at your expense. The only reason why society lets you think that it's for you is to get you to comply. And once you comply, they'll give you some crumbs that's supposed to be rewards for complying. And because you get crumbs, you think, oh, they're appreciating me. No. They appreciate the fact that they can exploit you. They appreciate the fact that you've fallen for the scam. And that's why anytime you awaken to the facade of society, people tend to turn on you. Some people even will physically attack you to cause you long-term physical harm. Some even tend to kill you anytime they notice you're seeing through the facade of society. Because once you see through the facade of society, you become a threat to society's stability. The only reason why society functions in a stable way is because there's a facade that society is there for everyone's well-being. It is not. The moment you see through the facade, you are a threat to the social cohesion of the public. And the moment you're a threat to social cohesion, you are a risk factor. If you were, if you were just a common criminal, if you were a drug dealer or a prostitute, or the male version is called a gigolo. But okay, if you were a sex worker, or you were a shoplifter, or even a child molester, if you were any of that, completely self-destructive, society would have tolerated you because they can put you in prison anytime, or they come up with an excuse to kill you, saying it was an accident or whatever. But the moment you see through the facade and you're constructive, what can they do? Because if they attack you, they'll be exposed themselves. But if they allow you to just open your mouth and question things, they will face the consequences. So, when you are awakened to the facade, society tends to love bomb you into some type of truth-seeking cult, and once you're part of a truth-seeking cult, they will now set you up just to shut you down. That's what they do. Because if they would go full violence against you, they'll be exposed themselves, and that will lead to a crash. But if they would just stand still and just tolerate you to speak your speech, it will be at their expense also. So when you are awakened, expect gang stalking, expect agents to be sent to you, expect people to try to trap you or to lure you into some type of weird cult. Why? Because you are a threat to society's stability. And most people out there, they rely on the ease of society. Society generates an ease that limits violence and limits limits pollution. So, society does generate a type of safety, but that safety is a shallow type of safety, in the sense that that safety is not stable. Society offers relief to the masses, and because there's relief, people have less tendencies towards violence. They're still violent, but they're likely not to be violent in behavior because they have ease. Society's ease is what motivates worldlings. It's society's ease that keeps many marriages together, many families together, many businesses together, and many economies, well, so-called economies, from collapsing. So the moment anyone sees through that facade, of course, both authorities as well as the people from the public who are smart are coming after you. Look at this world well. Look at society well. Anytime anyone awakens, they are the target of ridicule, the target of backlash, and people tend to turn on them. And often such people just disappear out of public life altogether. For example, there was this Dutch professor. It's a she. She had written, I believe, she wrote about around 3 books, I believe. Yeah, 4 books, I believe just 3. The 4th one was unpublished. And she began to question a lot of the practices of the Dutch government. And she had receipts. She had proof of a lot of scandals were going on. And she exposed a lot of stuff. Eventually, she had police reports saying she was harassing other people, and she was arrested, and she is allegedly schizophrenic or whatever, and nobody hears from her anymore. Now, I'm not going to call her name. Those from the Netherlands who are aware know who I'm talking about. Now, I'm not saying I'm supporting her, because she's, as far as I can see, she's not a believer. She might even be pagan. But still, someone from the world. Years ago, she was praised. She was part of Dutch society. She was a success story. But the moment she awakened to what society really is, things went backwards. This happens to both males and females. No matter your skin color, it affects everyone. The moment you are awakened to society, you'll become a target. The moment you are awakened, your life will become more difficult. The moment you are awakened, your life will be made more difficult. The moment you are awakened, you will have sudden, out of the blue, tantrums of violence thrown at you. You may open your email, and suddenly you have hundreds of hate mails out of the blue. And it seems they're all computer generated. And you may ask, who's taking the effort to do all of this? Or you may begin to receive weird phone calls out of the blue. And when you call back, the phone number doesn't exist. It is because you have softwares in which you can mask your phone number. You can even invent a phone number, and when you call, people see that invented phone number. So of course, when an individual wants to call back, the phone number doesn't exist. So then you may ask, who's taking all the effort to do all of this? I'm telling you, when you are awakened, people are going to notice that you see through stuff. And people are going to notice that wherever you come, disability tends to become fragile. So people are going to perceive you as an evildoer, even though you're not an evildoer. They would even excuse real evildoers and put up with actual narcissistic people than to put up with you. I'm telling you, a lot of folks don't want to awaken. And if they are already awakened, they'll try to reverse it, even though it's not possible. Once you've seen something, you can't unsee it. That's why you have people who have a deep hatred for truth seekers and truth tellers. You know why? Because once you awaken to the facts, you can't de-awaken. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unhear what you've heard. So now you have to deal with what is really going on. Now you have to deal with what's really, how things really are. And a lot of folks don't want to do that because look at this. If your relatives, family, friends, and those you know are dependent on the relief of society, if all of them are invested in error, and if all this error is the expense of victims, then you need to admit that your relatives are all part of the problem. That means that you were also part of the problem unaware. But then you also realize, hold on a minute, how come I awaken now and my parents were in this for so long? You begin to realize, hold on a minute, these people don't want solutions. So now you realize that most of the folks around you were just narcissistic, or some of them were even full-blown narcissists. But you saw them as decent, good people. But now that facts are showing you that they're not decent, good people, they're exploiters, you will have difficulty going to birthday parties. You will have difficulty being on family barbecues. You will have difficulty having so-called having a good time with them because you're realizing you're dealing with abusive people. Now, if you don't want to face this, then you absolutely don't want to have people around that can see through stuff. That's why you have folks that will attack you when you're questioning things. Why? Because they are the ones who are not ready emotionally and they don't want to be ready to deal with anything. They just want to get along with the relief of society, but without being charged with the responsibility for what they're doing. They want to be able to exploit and victimize without being held accountable. That's what they want. And they don't want to feel bad about it. And that's why they don't want to know what goes on. They just want to be lied to so that they can protect themselves from being exposed. Such people sometimes even pretend to be truth seekers. They will even pretend to be real believers just to get close to those who are genuine, to attack or sabotage those who are genuine. I'm telling you, society wants you controlled, not happy. If society wants you happy, it would have shaped itself in a very different way. It would actually benefit you in the long run. No, society wants you anxious, stuck in patterns, with no financial options to get out of their grip. They don't want you to be able to walk away from their violence. They want you to be stuck without options where you have no choice but to put up with their violence and with their threats. That's society. Well, that's it for now. Keep it on agreement with Christ and be at peace.